So in around 60 days from now, Quant, they're planning something. I'm not joking. So they recently made a post. I'm going to show it on the screen. They said that basically in September, they're going to be going to Sibos, which is in Miami. What does that even stand for? Sibos stands for Swift International Banking Operations Seminar, which is allegedly a very massive conference, and it's actually going to have an aspect of AI as one of its main themes. So let's just let that sink in. Quant's trying to do all this in 2026. Now I'll discuss the price later. However, I am not telling anyone to do anything. Nothing I say is financial advice, and this is just my personal perspective and review. Now, Quant, they're going to be again attending something called Sibos in Miami, at least in terms of the team. This is allegedly a very premier annual conference, and it's going to go down from 28th September to the 1st of October, 2026, of course. And now it's going to happen in Miami Beach Convention Center. I think this right here is very fantastic because not only do I think Miami is very awesome, but also on top of that, this actually allegedly marks the first ever time Sibos is going to be held in Miami. And I think this is pretty fantastic because this event right here is going to have an aspect of AI, at least in terms of the theme. And not only that, we have to consider an event, like in the case of Sibos, it typically attracts over 10,000 individuals. So we got to think about this. Quant, by being there, it's going to give it more exposure. It's going to give it more recognizability. And also on top of that, it's going to allow for it to just, I think, put itself really out there and showcase what it's really capable of. Because sometimes people like to tell me, well, if Quant's so good, why would they want to do this? Why would they want to waste their time doing this? But I think that's the wrong mentality personally for me, just because the way I take a look at it is that no matter how massive the project is, what's wrong with being more well-known? What's wrong with having better exposure? And I think what Quant is doing right here is way better than what a lot of other projects are doing in terms of advertising, because a lot of other projects out there, they're going to advertise through an athlete or through a celebrity, which is fine in my opinion, and it does hypothetically, do pretty good things at times. But I would arguably say that by Quant attending events, and also conferences and stuff like that, I think arguably it's better advertising for the actual audience that it's being targeted towards, right? Because we have to think about this. When it comes to Quant, not every single person is going to know what it is. So by being at an event in which people are already naturally inclined anyways to care about the blockchain space and AI and all this, that's a better place to actually tell them what they're all about, right? That's the way to take a look at it. So this is not a useless thing. And I think if anything, Quant is treating 2026 quite seriously. And why would I expect anything less? After all, the CEO and founder is Gilbert Verdian, someone who is allegedly very experienced in all this. So again, he kind of knows what he's doing. And the thing when it comes to Quant is this. It's been through, market downturns before. It's been through, this, up and down movement. This is not its first time. It's not its first rodeo. It's been through this before. Quant's been through moments when it's down, when it's up. This is nothing new. It's not like Quant is just a project that appeared, last year or the last 2 years, and now it's having to navigate through a market downturn. That's not the case. Quant's been there, it's done that. It's got the t-shirt, so to speak. It's already done all that. So this is kind of nothing new. Gilbert Verdian, this is like another Tuesday for him, basically. It's like another day in the office, basically, for Gilbert Verdian, because he's been through this. You know what I mean? He's been in this space for years. This is nothing new. So when people like to tell me, well, Quant's around $60, yeah, that's true. But it seems like the team at Quant is not fazed by this. They just keep doing their thing. And why wouldn't they? I think they have great belief in their project, right? I mean, if we take a look at Quant, maximum supply around 14.8 million. Straight off the bat, that's going to be over 6 million less than Bitcoin's maximum supply. That's kind of, I think, ridiculous in a sense, but also on top of that, and I of course mean that in a pretty awesome way, just because Quant, people wouldn't expect it to have a lower maximum supply than Bitcoin, but it actually does. Again, what's the maximum supply of Bitcoin? It's 21 million, right? Quant, again, just like I mentioned before, around 14.8 million. Now, that's not the end all be all, but at the same time, it's just something I consider. Also, second of all, Quant has around 168,000 holders. So it's not too bad. It's not the best, but I don't think it's too bad. And also, let's think about this. The Quant network, made up of the Overledger OS and the Overledger network. The Overledger network is made up of the Overledger OS users, but we have to consider the Overledger OS allows something called a multi-chain application to be built. It's an application that is built on top of multiple blockchains. So could you imagine that? Quant's trying to revolutionize the way people build apps when it comes to this space. It's trying to make an impact when it comes to AI. It's trying to make an impact when it comes to interoperability. Take a look at their recent launch of the mainnet of Fusion Rollup, which I made a detailed video on, by the way, but I'm just saying, take a look at what they've done so far. They're not playing around. That's the way to take a look at it. And typically, projects that could make it through a market downturn, they're the ones that usually are not only having good fundamentals, but in some cases also have a good following. It needs to have either or, right? It needs to actually have a good use case. And in some cases, if it doesn't really have that, it needs to have a good following. But when it comes to Quant, not only does it have, again, around 168,000 holders, but the use case is actually there. And it's a pretty established project that's been in this space for years at this point. Quant, as of right now, kind of reminds me of Odysseus, in the movie The Odyssey. It's kind of like, trying to navigate the down moments, trying to navigate through, the times when he wasn't doing too okay. But if you can make it through that, if Quant can make it through the quote-unquote storm, so to speak, and if it can make it through to a time in which the market actually does recover, what am I really to complain about? I mean, Quant is already pretty well established, has the use case, has a good amount of holders. Typically, projects of this archetype don't typically get forgotten about, hypothetically, if the market were to recover. But that's a maybe. We'll wait and see. Now, if I take a look at it, Quant being at around $60, if it were to just go back to, let's say, July of last year, so we're talking about just pretty much around a year ago at this point, Quant back in July of last year was around $120. So we're around, 2 times away from that. Now, people like to tell me, why even care about that? Well, need I remind people, Bitcoin going back to its all-time high, the journey is just around 2 times. And if that were to happen, some people would consider it to be so legendary. So why would it be any different when it comes to Quant? And $120, again, the journey back to there is around 2 times from right now. But $120 isn't even the all-time high when it comes to Quant. $120 was considered quite bad when it comes to Quant, actually. But yet still, we're way lower than that. To the point that going back to that, the journey is around 2 times. Pretty much the same journey that Bitcoin would have if it were to go back to its all-time high. So I don't think that would be such a bad thing, personally, just in my perspective. Now, if I take a look at it, what is the all-time high when it comes to Quant? The all-time high is around $428. Yeah, it never needs to go back there, in my opinion, at least for me to be happy, just because if it goes back to $120, which we saw last year, literally, just back in July, I have nothing to complain about if Quant can return to that point from where it is as of right now. That's the thing. Now, sometimes people can tell me, though, but their average cost is like around 80 or $90 or whatever, so then they say, oh, if it goes back to around $120, like, how is that impressive? Now, I totally understand that point of view, but because personally for me, even though I'm not telling anyone to do anything, because I am personally dollar cost averaging once a month, I'm slowly but surely just lowering down my average cost. Do I know what the bottom is? No. But at the same time, I'm just slowly but surely trying to lower down my average cost. In which case, if let's say my average cost goes down to like around $65 or whatever, now it's to the point that if it goes to like around 120, the journey is still around like 2 times, Now, had my average cost been like around $120, then okay, going back to $120 is really nothing. It's just like breaking even at that point. But because again, I'm taking this moment to lower down my average cost, it's to the point that if it goes back to around $120, it's no longer hypothetically breaking even because I was dollar cost averaging at moments when it was low and I was bringing down my average cost. But I am not telling anyone to do anything. This is just my personal mindset. But long story short, Quant, again, in around 60 days from now, some members of their team, apparently, allegedly, they're going to be going to Sibos Miami, which again stands for Swift International Banking Operations Seminar. So I think that's pretty cool. I'll be sure to make more updates moving forward. So I want to say thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a very wonderful day.